6 o'clock. We can probably get the service committee meeting started here. We'll do a roll call.
Cosgray,
Present.
Curry,
Present.
Foreman, present.
Also in attendance, we've got Councilman Foreman and Atkinson and Keller and Brian Beverly, the fiscal officer, the mayor, and is Terry? Yes, she is.
Terry is on.
There you go. So we'll have I need a motion for approval of the minutes for the June 20 meeting.
Foreman moves to approve the minutes as written. Hope everybody's had a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
And McCurry like to second that.
Okay, got a motion made and
On your microphones, guys.
Oh,
seconded. So we'll
Thank
do, I guess,
Yes.
so the minutes of June 28th will be approved as written. We don't have any visitors or anything for today. So project goals, it looks like quite a few of them have already been accomplished.
Yes, I can run over that list with you if you would like.
Certainly.
Okay, so again, the Maple Street water line is in. What's left to be done now is our paving, and I'll get to that further down the list. We're scheduling the ground storage tank. We're targeting the end of this year, more towards fall before we start cleaning that. Joey has ordered the high school meter, and that's a part of our unaccounted water initiative that we're doing. Number 4, the loop water line, we're going to try to still bid that out this year. My gut feel is that, like everything else, I even got an email from Oops that says they're limiting their hours because they can't find employees. So my gut feel is we'll go out to bid for this, but it probably also will not be done until 2022. Mr. Little continues to work with BSI on the PLC backup at the water treatment plant, along with the ground storage tank upgrade. Which brings us to the Park Street. That water line is also complete. So far this year, we've gotten 2 water lines installed. Again, waiting on our paving project to finish that area. We have decided, and of course, things are always changing because I see where lumber costs are coming down. I think Mr. Foreman might have seen that too. I'm being told they're coming down. So maybe with some of these material costs coming down, we can move ahead with the projects. But at this point in time, the North Basel water line, we are going to push that to 2022, along with the brine tank also to 2022. And we are down right now to maybe about 6 Storts connections that we have to do with the hydrant for that joint project with the fire department, so we can complete that. So that's our listing of the water projects and their status. I'll move on. The next section is the wastewater section. Right now we're on hold with that basin. There's a whole lot of irons in the fire coming to that. And by the way, these are in order that in sequence of importance, in case you're wondering the numbering. We've got 3 trains pumps rebuilt. We only got 1 left to go. We're on track for the recirculation pump to be rebuilt. Not sure about the replacement of the VFDs. Again, a lot of this is just we're coming to September, and I'm starting to get a little nervous about getting some of these projects done. We are going to move the biotank diffuser tank project over to 2022. And again, looking at the new meters for the new flow meters, because right now we hand calculate the southeast flow readings, and this way we'll have a radio read to do that. We also are going to move the the old plant lift station electrical building off to 2022. On the brighter side, the spare compactor motor and gearbox is complete, and the plant lift station pump is also complete. So those are two projects along with the screen rooms that we've been able to do. Moving on to streets, Brian has sent out for advertising. We're going to rebid the street paving. Mainly we separated from the OPWC thinking we would have originally a little more clout with the OWC trying to get someone to bid on such a big project. But I guess it's the concrete work that is involved in the OPWC that it prevented people from bidding on the street projects because they don't have the personnel to do the concretes. So what we have did is we got permission to separate the streets again. And so they're out to rebid, and those bids will open on September 2nd. I do look to get some bids on these projects. The order that you see 1 through 6 is the order that we will be resurfacing the streets. So I look for that project to be a go and still get those done by the end of the year. The only thing we have left on the lands and buildings is the old fire station roof repair, and Tim's reaching out to the contractor to see when he thinks that he can complete that. That's about where I'm at on all the projects. Are there any questions?
I have a quick one, Terry. I guess it's more of the, hold on, let me flip over to the email here. It has to do with the Park Street paving
Yes.
that I had forwarded on the email from the resident that lives on Park just north of Cliff Street.
Correct.
Wanted if we could add that on because of its condition to the Park Street paving.
Correct. That was not included in the original. Okay, so a couple of things here. So that Park Street portion that you're talking about, we could see if we have money left over in the OPWC to do it. That would be a separate project from the projects for streets that I'm talking about now, because that would be included in Park. What we're going to do with the project for the streets we have now, because Maple is, I don't know if anybody's been up there, a total disaster. So what we did is we put these in order to see, we would pay them in order for the amount of money that we have set aside for paving. If there's any money left, we can always devote it to that project. But at this time, I would venture to say we might look at that, not this year. And not within these projects. It would be in the OPWC project because that's Park. Does that make sense?
It does, but I guess the question that I got that I'm still trying to figure out how to answer is,
Okay.
Why didn't we include that?
And that I can't answer for you. I do not. When we talked about parameters, we said from Cliff Street to Dorchester, looking for a walkable, part of the things that we sold the project on was a walkable project. A walkable path to the park. I have no idea why that portion of Park was overlooked. I think it dead ends. After you get over the bridge, it's pretty much not too much of a street. And we can go back and reevaluate that, much like we did, remember last year on Oak. We weren't going to go past Railroad Street. And then we went past Railroad Street and we were able to pull enough money together to do that. So much like we did last year for Oak, maybe we can do it Park. It comes to the point where you draw the line and where you continue. Does that
Right.
make sense?
It does.
So,
It does.
I'm not saying this is a no. I'm just saying there are a couple possibilities.
Yeah.
And we'll just
And
have
I'm
to-
just trying to figure out how to respond to the resident that's, hey, they acknowledge there's, I think, only 4 houses on that portion of Cliff.
I believe there's 3.
Okay. And it doesn't get a lot of travel, but,
Yeah.
hey, they said it's bad. Why wasn't it included? So I'm just trying to information gather.
Yes. And I can help you with that offline if you want me to, Mayor. Just let me know and I can give you a couple of, not that you're short on words, but if you need something, I can help you.
Fair enough. Thank
Question on the order of them. I would have thought that Hyde Basel would have been ahead of, or Maple from Hyde Basel would have been ahead of Maple Company to market just because of condition. Because Hyde of Basel is the one we just tore up for the water line. And
correct.
it's able to market, although it does need repaved, isn't in nearly the same condition as Hyde of Basel. And then Hyde of Basel also, I know firsthand that there are sump pumps on that section that are going into the sanitary for lack of an alternative. I'm wondering if there wouldn't be an opportunity to put a storm drain, just it's a 1 block long storm drain or 1 or 2 blocks long, to put some storm structure in there so that those people would have an alternative to pumping their sump pumps into the sanitary. I know of one at least. There are probably more, but I don't know firsthand for sure that there are more. I know firsthand that there is one.
I've made a notation of that and have shared your concerns with staff. This would be a project that we hadn't budgeted for or appropriated for. I don't think it's going to, I can't say it's a simple fix or a more complex fix, but we can look at that. Again, we're not going to open the bids till September 2nd. This priority list was from staff, so they may have just, I think 2 and 3, I'm not concerned with, Mr. Foreman. I'm more concerned when we get down to like the 6 or if we add on other streets.
Understandable.
May I ask a question also, please?
Yes,
In regards to numbers 2 and 3 on that list,
yes,
I know firsthand that even the very short section between Liberty and Company is much worse than from Company to Market. That area, that very short street, which I happen to live on, the gas company tore that up twice. If you remember, there was a serious gas leak that they had to address. They addressed it once. There was a gas leak. They had to come back on an emergency basis. They broke that all up again. So now there are about 3 very good sized holes in that very short area. However, those holes are growing.
okay. Let me make a note of that and see, Tim has been working with the gas company to get them in here to patch those areas where they do the dig. That's supposed to be the understanding. So let me follow up on that, Brandy.
Okay, thank you.
I got a question too, so we're going around the table. On Park Drive, I know we're not doing it this year, and I know you sent a letter out to all the residents on there when they were going to do it. They're all asking me what's going to happen. So I've been telling them next year sometime.
Mr. Keller, that's my fault with everything that's going on. I will recreate another letter and send it out and tell them why the project is on hold until 2022. Just with this House Bill 168 and my surgery and everything, I just got a little bit away from me. So I apologize for that, but I will take care of that as soon as I return.
I got one question on it. They also say they know you're putting the sidewalk down the east side. They want to know to keep the kids off Summer Choice. Are we going to put a sidewalk down on Summer Choice? And I said no. I hope I told them right.
That is correct. It's not a plan to have a sidewalk along there.
Okay.
So that at this point in time, it's no.
And I agree because people be parking on it anyhow. You know how they park there doing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so we've gone through all of the different goals for the year, and then the one that's being pushed to next year. So land and buildings, the old firehouse, that was done. The police department was painted. Streets department, that was all painted. So down to the cemetery.
We have not, we just did not have the funds to appropriate any repairs for the cemetery. In our staff meetings, we have been brainstorming about what we can do because we do have to do something with that cemetery roof next year. We've been brainstorming and a couple of things. We've even talked about redoing the style of the roof and adding a pitch to it and maybe a metal roof and not go back to the flat roof that is so prone to need repairs anyhow. So the staff is working on that, but for this year, we just didn't have enough money in appropriations to appropriate a project there, but we are going to try to shoot for next year.
All right.
That would be at the Basel Western Mausoleum, the roof that's the worst.
And we got the truck, so that's a good thing.
Yep.
Work truck. So reports, village departments, Parks and Rec Board,
Well, village departments,
village departments, yeah.
Terry, the metrics.
Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
yes. So you have the metrics before you. They all look pretty consistent to last month. We did some flushing on the new water line on Johnson on page 1. It talks about it on the water report, but we've remained kind of consistent. Because of the rain we've had at the bottom of the page, then you can see that the wastewater's been holding their own. When we get to their report, which then will be on page 3, but we can go here and talk. So this is just represents what the wastewater treatment flows were for the month of July, from July of 2020 to July of 21. You'll also see that below that, you had asked me to track the usage of the electricity. Brian and I'm on page 2, bottom of page 2, South Central usage. All right, so Brian and I looked at these on Thursday last week. And one of the things that we did notice is that we did have an increase in our rate. So somewhat that is why the appropriations may have got a little out of whack. But as you can see, we're still using the same amount of kilowatts pretty basically that we have been using. So I think this is, with all that's happening, this is probably going to be norm. Now, I know we got a letter from the mill, our communication from the mill, that said they were only sending us half of the flows that they've been sending us. So that means the September bill should be a little lower if indeed there is a direct correlation between the amount of usage of kilowatts with the amount of sludge that we're processing from the mill. So it'll be a good tale next time. Brian, do you remember that increase? The increase was just about a year ago, wasn't it? Wasn't it June?
Yeah, it started.
June of 2020?
It started towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
I look at dollar amounts, and I saw that it was pretty consistent with previous years. So I went ahead and budgeted. I think I did give it a little cushion, but not that much of a cushion.
So we're probably going to be a little short in our appropriations for the electricity. We'll probably have to make that up at another meeting. But again, it was just a culmination of things, including that there was a rate increase. So if we go on to slide 3, then we did have some rain, as you can see. For July, we had 3.59 inches of rain, which did result in one overflow event. It was a short one. It didn't last very long, but it did overflow. Again, we had a lot of rain. I think the village has been lucky not to have the kind of rain that we've had up north, because we would really be floating. Yeah, just one event since, none in June and one in July. The last report in slide 4 then is the utility report. And this is basically the shut-off list. As you can see, the number of accounts were up. Missy and I were talking about this, and it seems that we were seeing people who weren't on the shut-off list before, who aren't what I call frequent flyers, who were ending up on the shut-off list. Some of them new to the village. So that was kind of an awakening there. We did do tax assessments this month. So there were 3 properties that Brian did assess the taxes. It looks to me like 115 South Mill Street I see they're starting to pay the taxes, so that tells me the bank is going to be moving on that. And I know the mayor doesn't like assessments, but the only way to really make sure that we get our money is to make sure we have an assessment on that tax bill prior to them doing the real foreclosure. This has been in the owner's name for about 2 years now, and I did see that they started paying the taxes. Same way with 804 West Market. So that is why we went ahead and did those assessments on those 3 properties, which would have brought that bar down a little bit. Again, a lot of one-off accounts this month we hadn't seen before. And I believe I talked to Missy this morning. The guys were still doing shut-offs and door knocks today. And again, the last one, as you can see, our untreated and our build is starting to come together a little bit, not as much we'd like to see it. Rural water is supposed to be in the village later this week or next week. I didn't talk to Joey today. And so then we'll go around and start testing our hydrants to see if we have any leaks that we don't know we have. I had talked to Ron, if you remember Ron Stevens, she was here in the village for a while we're waiting on Joey to get his license. He said that he doesn't think the number is really large, but it could come down a bit, because I was asking him if he thinks, well, am I being like, is this too much or not? And we're always going to have that unaccounted water that's not billed until we get all of those meters on, so we can see exactly how much water is not going through the billing. So we need to get the meters on, and we have the money to do that. We're just looking for the time right now. So that's kind of my report. If you have any questions.
Hey, Terry, on the, I guess it's kind of shut off related. The, I'll call it the problem property we had where we don't have access, and the guy complained about our practices to the county commissioners. Have you heard anything back on that?
He is ignoring, and I followed up with a letter and sent his key back and everything, and I have heard nothing, and he is still, so this is one that I'm going to have to get with Jeff to find out what we can do, because Department A is paying, B and C are not. So it's,
and for everyone at the table that might not know, there's 1 meter for 3 different units, and one of them's paying, the other 2 are not, and we can't shut it off because there's only 1 meter and it's inside the property.
I thought that was what we passed, where if they didn't divide them on separate meters, they had to put it in their.
He put it in, we went to put it in his name, and then he wrote a nice letter to the county commissioners, who then said, well, what are you guys doing up there that made this guy all mad? And I more or less laid it flat for him that the guy said that he might just sell his properties. And I was like, if he doesn't sell them, we'll sell them for him, because he's a problem and he needs to leave.
Right.
But Terry was much nicer in her response to the commissioners than I was.
That we're faced with that came and talked to me, and we did everything we could do, and everybody I talked to understood the problem.
Yeah.
I have less than maybe 3 or 4 people who have not separated out their meters, who I'm not having issues with. This is just the one person I'm having issues with. So
but the county commissioners haven't said anything, or Carrie hasn't said anything to you about it?
No, because they know it's us. They don't have anything to do with it.
Stay out of our sandbox.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Yes, that's the way, pretty much. They understand that it's our policies and procedures, and she's good with that. There was nobody that said, what are you doing to this poor man? It's the opposite, So I'm going to have to get with Jeff on this one, because this one is going to probably go into legal.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Parks and Rec Board.
We're supposed to have a meeting on Wednesday night. I'm not sure whether they're going to push it to September or not, but our last meeting was in July. Usually in the summertime, we don't meet. We just meet towards the end of the summer and the beginning of the year. So I'll let you know, update next meeting.
Okay. Brian, anything from the BDRC?
No.
All right, nothing from BDRC. Then Any old business anybody want to bring up? Do we have any new business for the committee? Okay. All right.
Well, I
Well,
wanted to bring up one thing, if you don't mind, kind of new, just to go over it. When the mayor was absent 2 weeks ago and I took over the meeting, I know my report was so long because my friend Jeff, who always times me, he always says, okay, Terry. So it was so long and I realized that. Please, I don't want anybody. I got an email from a council person who thought that I implied there was a leak at the ground storage tank, and there is not a leak at the ground storage tank. So I didn't want anybody to take that away from that meeting. So I just wanted to make that clear. Does anybody have any questions? Further questions about that? Okay, that's all I had, Wade.
okay. So no new business. So I guess our
No
next,
visitors on.
yeah. When's our next meeting? What's the date?
September 27th.
All right, thank you, Chuck.
I
So
thought you was asking that.
yeah, I am. 'Cause I don't have a calendar in front of me. I didn't mark it down. So I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. And next meeting. will be-
second that.
All righty. So the next meeting will be, what was that again? September
27th.
27th. Okay, at 6. So all in favor of adjournment, say aye. Adjourn.
All right, so before we switch over to safety here, while he's flipping the recording, Terry, you're hopping off and going to rest and not joining us for council, correct?
I'm not gonna go to, unless council wants me to go to council, I would prefer not to. I am still kind of puny. That's not recorded, right?
Well, it's on Zoom.
Oh, whoops. I'm still under the weather, let's put it like that. So I'll stay for safety in case there's a couple of questions I had, and then I'll jump off if you don't mind.
I don't have a problem with it.
I will say while we're just talking, I think his name Joey Holland.
Yes.
He said we donated a flagpole to VFW. He put it up, got it all up. We're gonna do a flag raising this Saturday.
Oh, cool.
Oh, super cool, Chuck.
Which part? Oh, okay.
Did the flagpole over at the old firehouse, did that get painted and the new flag raised that had been donated?
Has the old firehouse flag? I don't think it's been painted yet. The
No,
flag
it's
from
never-
the flag
yeah.
from Joel is sitting on my desk.
Okay.
Yeah. And we had never, I have no idea what was going on with that painting. We had never contracted out to paint the flagpole. If we want to do that, then Brian will have to find me some money.
Then why did they start painting it?
Yeah.
I
That-
don't know. I have no idea.
That's what brought Joe's attention to it. They were painting the old firehouse, and then the flagpole was partially painted,
About
and
4 or 5 feet up.
we were out there. It was for Arbor Day, wasn't it? And Joe said, "Hey, if they're painting the pool," and Chuck, you were there. If they're painting the pool, it needs a new flag. And then Joe came up with a flag for us. So
Well, let me see how much that gentleman that's repairing the roof, let me see how much he would charge us for the pole.
yeah,
Also.
yeah, because we've been thinking it's been part of the project. So
Oh, yeah, no.
yeah,
Yes,
Good
that'd be
ask
great.
questions. All right.
recording flipped.
Are you ready?
All
All right. All right, we'll start a safety committee meeting. Roll call.
Angus,
Present.
Hamilton,
Present.
Barry,
Present.
So we have mayor and VA and fiscal officer and police chief.
I just saw the cruiser drive by a little bit ago, so
No police chief yet.
not yet.
All right. Also, we have Mr. Foreman and Mr. Keller. Oh, great. All right, our school board minutes, June 28th.
I would like to move to accept the minutes as written from the June 28th meeting.
Second,
I'll second it.
any more discussion? Roll call.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
We have anybody on Zoom for?
Nope.
Okay.
Just Terry.
you?
I'm here.
All right, the goals, place accidents, everything going good?
Yes.
No accidents.
No accidents. We haven't worked on traffic signage just because we just had so much going on with the rest of the projects in town. So hopefully that'll be more of a fall project.
Okay. And it's no accident, they have no fatal accidents. Truck traffic problems down there by the paper mill or something.
I haven't talked to the chief about this lately. I'll need to get with chief and touch base with him again about this item.
I will,
We have signage for the trucks coming into the village. We just have to find time to get them installed.
I'll say I haven't noticed it as much the past couple weeks or months as I did earlier in the year when we're setting this up. Both down at the mill and turning down Granville Street and turning up Cliff. I haven't noticed it as much, every now and then, but not, now it's like, oh, there's one turning there as opposed to, oh, another one.
Right.
So it at least anecdotally seems to be getting a little better.
Right.
Our police chief just came in.
You might have heard us asking for him, ran the other way.
I know we did talk a little bit about a sign at the end of, that'd be Water Street there.
Where at, where?
At the, where it comes out of the paper mill to 158. About, trucks use state routes to exit.
Yes.
But that goes along with the signs, I think.
Yes.
Time to put it up.
They had maybe gotten a sign that might have mentioned that.
I think we have 8 signs, 7 or 8 signs. So we just need to find time to get them installed. I'll make sure one goes there.
Okay. Anybody have anything else they want to put on goals? All right. Administrator report.
I'd like to go into the old business. As you can see on the agenda, because I didn't know where else to put it. I have some questions about some of the old business that we had still on the agenda. So if we could go there.
That's fine.
Okay, so the first one is Canal Street. If you remember, we've had a couple of discussions about how the one-way, the way it is on Canal Street now was the incorrect way. So I guess my question back to council is twofold. Well, 3, do we want to keep it the way it is? Do we want to reverse the direction? Or do we just not want to do a one-way? I guess I'm kind of looking for direction on Canal Street. This would be between Basel and
High Street,
which one?
High Street.
Yes, High Street, between Basel and High. So I'm looking for input on this. Do we want to just take away the one way? Do we want to leave it the way it is, or do we want to reverse it?
Jerry, if I may, in that particular area, it's really difficult to see if you are pulling out and you want to go north on Basel. The visibility is very poor. It would make sense if we're going to do anything, at least to change it so the one way goes the other direction.
And that was my understanding, because I remember years ago, Tony complained to me about that when Tony was on council, and Tony, my last conversation with him about this, thought that it was supposed to go the other way. If it was one way, it was supposed to go off of Basel towards High Street.
More sense.
Yes.
If we're gonna do anything, that to me would make the most sense. I don't think there's enough traffic on to really worry about it, but if council feels like there is, then I know the people that live on it clearly don't follow the direction.
No, they don't.
Parked for the entire night in the opposite direction on the left side of the street. Let's be clear. They don't care about your signs. If you want to make his parking legal, you'd have to make it one way the other way because he's parked the
Yeah.
wrong direction on the left side of the street. So I think the one or two, there's only what, 3 residents on that section? And one of them for sure parks, reverse parks every night on the left side.
I guess I haven't, has anybody, and I know the answer to this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Has anybody gone back to look at the council minutes from the discussion when it was changed to one way to see why it was even being changed one way? Or do you guys remember?
To bypass the traffic light. I remember that.
So it was done to try to avoid the.
Yes, it was the traffic light avoidance.
And so then it makes sense you make it one way coming out the way it is, because then you can't bypass the traffic light if you're coming into the village.
And I just don't feel, I mean, I personally don't feel like there's enough traffic on the street to worry about.
I mean, I'll admit, when it used to be, when it used to be two-way, I used it as traffic light avoidance. I turned there to High Street and then right up around Market and into the
Right, yeah,
parking.
because you have a business around there.
Yeah.
I come up there all the time, go to VFW. I had never gone through that street. I'll wait at the light, but I'm always going up that way and I go north, but I wait.
See, and I'll freely admit, I used it as the traffic light avoidance. I went down there to High Street and then parked right, if the back lot was full, right there on High Street outside of the building.
There's a basketball hoop on the sidewalk that you can only shoot at from the street. That's
Yeah.
how little traffic there is. So let's
Do we
be
know
clear.
the width of the street? Because it seems it's pretty daggone narrow where that hillside is.
Actually, if you were to remove all the debris and the
Okay.
vegetation, it's much wider than
Then
many
it might be okay,
streets in
but
town.
currently, because I go down
Yes.
through there quite a bit, it's pretty daggone.
I mean, I'm getting ready to
narrow.
reopen the sidewalk on that section that isn't in front of my house.
Yeah.
But if you were to do the same thing on that portion of Canal Street, you'd find that it's much wider than, say, Maple Street between Company and,
So who would be responsible for doing that?
I mean,
Would that be
technically,
the
we usually count on the
village? Is that the
homeowners
right
to
way
do
of
that,
doing
but
it?
they don't always do it once it's to the condition it's in.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it on my block,
Yes.
and if you
yes,
drive
do.
around there, you can tell I do it on my block. But that's, if
Everybody
I
on that
didn't do it,
side.
no one would, so.
Well, personally, I don't use the street.
But those of us, there are three of us here that definitely.
I just never go that way. I wait for the traffic light like Chuck does.
And most people do.
Mike lives on it and you got property there, so. What do you guys think about? I mean, you guys.
And he knew exactly what time people reverse travel on it. Yeah, so
7:30 and 7:40, there's 2 cars
they go the other way.
go the wrong way on it, coming, just flying up there. I don't know why they don't go on it, because they have a clear view, but they
But
go
it
up.
hasn't changed the behavior.
No,
And the one guy that lives on it parks nearly every day on the left side going the other way.
So
No, not you. 2 doors up.
oh,
Yeah, Jim.
according to the 2015 street inventory, to answer Brandy's question, Canal Street between High Street and Basel Street should be 18 feet in width.
Mhm.
But that must be debris. I mean,
There's leaves and
road
dirt and debris on about
But then there-
4 feet of pavement.
There's another indicator on here. It says Canal Street, Basel Street to Market Street West, which I would cover that entire area, has it listed as 10 feet.
Which is probably more
More
accurate.
accurate.
Yes, that's what I.
Yeah,
was
that section is the widest part, to be honest. If you were to remove all the debris that's covering the pavement. Which I'm not gonna go down that far. Sorry, guys.
Any comment from the chief on the street?
You know, all I remember is when we first talked about this, it was about traffic there was traffic talk about the light, but there was a lot of talk about people that were, instead of going around to get into the bank, they were going up that alley and coming in, there. And it culminated, I think, and again, I don't, when did you say this was 15?
What? No, that was the street inventory.
Yeah.
That was the street inventory.
But
It's been
they,
one way longer than that.
Yeah, it seemed to me we had an incident up there, something about a couple guys got into it because one started up the street, one started down the street, neither one wanted to move, sort of thing. And I know that never happens, but I think that was what it was. But I have really thought a lot about this since we first talked about it, and I really think those signs are posted incorrectly. I don't think we ever talked about. Because as a matter of fact, I could be wrong on this, but I think when we talked about that, Tony brought up that posting it the way they are now, people are gonna be pulling out in front of traffic they can't see coming.
Mhm.
It's more dangerous.
Sorry, it
the way
is, absolutely.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what you do to fix that other than flip that sign. I mean, that's an ordinance and 10-minute job.
Yeah.
Fix the problem.
I guess the question is, do we even need it to be one way?
There's so little traffic on that, it's unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah, I personally, I live on it, my grandchildren play on it, guy plays basketball in it. I don't feel like there's enough traffic to warrant it.
So long as you don't get two guys,
The two guys would be up on our part, it's two-way. I mean, that's the problem, where it's only 10 feet wide.
Yeah.
The problem isn't down there where it's 18 feet wide.
So you guys thinking maybe just eliminate one way?
I would prefer it. I don't know about you, Mike.
Doesn't matter to me. The other reason that it was made one way was there's, I don't know, 3 or 4 of the people that lived over there had children. 2 of the houses have changed, and the rest of the children, mine and the Weimers, have all grown up, and she was on the other street. She moved, so.
Yeah, that's.
My
where
2-year-old
they brought that
grandson
bank,
escaped and
yeah.
got there the other day, but.
But two-way, you still got people wanting to come out on 2 Bob Street.
Right.
If we eliminate the one way in either direction and go back to two-way, and assuming people aren't going to clear the street, so it's not the full 18 feet right now, are we creating problems where someone's trying to pull in and someone's trying to pull out at the same time at that intersection?
That can be, there's enough width there to do that. Up on our part where.
Yeah, you come around your corner, yeah,
you
there's
can-
not.
You're literally on the sidewalk and in the grass. But isn't that big? It just happens so rarely.
So clearing that side, do you think that would improve the visibility? Turning and
No.
going north?
No, the hill
If
is,
you're going east and then going to turn,
the hill is the visibility problem. The clearing of it just would widen out the section up to the intersection. The
safer at
visibility
least.
at the intersection would be just as bad.
But right now they do it. Right,
Right. I mean, that's your only choice.
and you have no accident.
I looked, whenever it was we first looked at this, we've never had an accident report there. Now, I've had people tell me about near misses there.
Yeah.
But again, that's one of those streets that probably, and I haven't done a traffic study on it, but just from what I've seen, I bet there's not half a dozen cars a day go up and down that little strip.
Well, the tenants in the building around the corner from me have changed, and they had a lot more traffic than they do now too as well. So the traffic has changed based on the tenants of the building on Market Street. They had a lot more traffic when some different people lived there than do now, but
I mean, it could change back at some point. We end up with, some kind of multiple housing down there with a lot of cars and a lot of vehicles that could change it. But my only concern is traffic control, the purpose of traffic control is to the safe flow of traffic. So if that's what we're looking to do, then the 2 things that I would say or recommend was, number one, that we know that the traffic flow is greatly reduced from what it was when this was originally brought to council back in the day. It's really diminished. The second thing of it is, though, we do have to consider is that one of the issues here is pulling out into that downhill Basel. Now, that's a downhill grade, which means, so even somebody turning off the road at 25 miles an hour, as soon as they start down that hill, it's going to speed up whether they intend to or not. So you're going to have some higher speeds down there. So your point of perception, which is where you first can actually see that car down the hill, is not good, and there's just no way to fix it. Now, somebody brought up about a traffic mirror, and there's several places around to use those. In Franklin County, if you're up in the does anybody know where Reese Station is up there? Have any idea? Reese Station is right below Obet's, and there's like a really bad underpass. I mean, it's literally a hard left to get under this underpass, and then this comes under. Well, you can't see anything coming up because it's a huge train bridge. And they put one of those mirrors, pretty good sized mirror in there, and it changed the world. We had crashes down there all the time, and that mirror really changed it. So it may be as simple as, you know, let's put one of those mirrors at that location, and that gives you enough, especially in the evening hours, because the headlights will gleam off of that thing. And with the reduction in traffic that we currently have down there, and with the addition of a safety device, which that would be, you know, I think we would be okay to go ahead and just open it up.
The mirror was, we had talked about a mirror, that's correct, Chief. But that was Brandy's idea up by Park National, which is what we're looking into. The issue becomes where we can place it and how it can be affixed without being, you know, any visibility issues. So.
But let me, while we're talking about it, I'll pull up a map. There might be a place for Canal Street though to put a mirror across. The bank is a different issue.
Yeah, I looked, I don't see any.
It'd have to be on a pole. It'd be Don Morrison's front yard pretty much. That's where we be.
What they did up there is they planted a utility pole, probably 20-footer, something like that. And they mounted it right at the top. So it actually, they're angled down somewhat. So as you pull up and look up, you get that visibility in both directions. So they're really effective.
Actually, the way that goes though, because Canal Street goes across Basel and it's not a straight across, it's kind of an angle. It does sit close to Don's property, but we probably still have some right of way right in there
Plenty of right of way, yeah.
to put a pole in.
Plenty of right of way.
So
Do we want to go to that extent for a street that has
Almost no traffic.
no traffic and still and instead focus up by Park National with a mirror? I mean, I don't know, that's up to council. I'm just throwing this out so we can get direction.
how much does it cost for a mirror and a pole? I mean, the poles I can tell you are about $800 because when you're
Yeah,
running,
the pole's the most expensive thing. Let's put it that way. The mirrors range anywhere from $100 to several $100s. So
we're probably talking less than $1,000.
my concern would be we need to watch where we put that pole because of the trash truck coming out of that other section of Canal.
Well, the trash truck aside, because they can always back up the other way.
Okay.
The litigator side of me says, I would hate for us to make it two-way or change it around. Someone come out of there and get T-boned by someone going down on South Basel and then pull up the minutes and say, wait a minute, you guys were concerned about accidents right there and did absolutely nothing to mitigate it. You actually took away the one way and open us up. Now, it would eventually fail, but it wouldn't change the fact that someone could do that if, God forbid, anybody got to an accident there.
Well, that's why we're having this conversation.
And that's what I'm
So,
saying. My view is if we're talking $1,000 for a pole and a mirror, $1,000 saves us, a bunch of headaches in the future potentially is worth it to me.
I mean, the visibility is very poor pulling out there. I know there's little traffic, but it takes one.
Mhm.
So.
The traffic at Park National is probably.
Well, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
That's one I think that's an
The
absolute,
problem with that
but
one is
this
that
one,
the pole almost has to be in one of the parking spots to be able to reach our.
yes.
But I don't mean, to
Mhm.
get the visibility you need, it needs to be right where they head in park at Reapers.
Yep.
And I don't know where else you would put it.
I mean, somebody don't hit that pole.
Right. So,
I don't know, Chief, you got a pole in the middle of your parking lot. How many times people hit it?
Well, once I put the big orange Band-Aid around it, it has happened. No. But it was pretty regular.
You did pretty good.
Oh, boy.
well,
So Mayor, before we make any decision, can I first see how much it would cost with the all of the materials so that we do have a better idea of if that's the direction everybody wants to go in, what the cost of that would be before we decide how we're going or not?
That's committee's choice.
That's what I'm asking. What did I say, Mayor? Committee?
Do you want to wait, see what it's gonna cost, when?
Well-
Before we decide to change the direction?
We could always do this. The committee could make a motion to prepare the legislation to either flip the one-way or remove the one-way and return it to two-way traffic. It's changing the traffic map, so the ordinance wouldn't go on until the next meeting. But because it's changing the traffic map and it's not an immediate emergency, it'll go for 3 readings, which would give Terry time
Yeah.
to get the costs, at which point then council could decide whether or not they want to put the pole and the mirror up as part of that or not.
We could use legislation for both of them, and then we could do DV.
Yeah.
Of course, if you made it just one way, the other way, then you don't need. to-
Right. then it
Right.
costs-
That's gone.
Okay.
All right, well, we're gonna prepare the legislation that has, both options on it,
Okay.
and we'll see what the cost is from there. And then
Okay.
we'll have another safety meeting before the last reading.
So are we also gonna pursue looking at that area there on Basel coming out of Park? Is that also part of this conversation?
I think it's a separate item, Brandy. So I think we need to discuss that next if we have we need a motion for the other.
I tell you what, maybe we would just do legislation for both ways, and then if it isn't, the cost is too much, then we'll make it one way
Okay.
going west.
Well, we'll just, on the motion, then we can just have it prepared, removing it. And then based on cost, you guys can always amend it.
I guess, you just make your motion to remove it one way. Okay.
That sounded like a motion from Mr.
So-
Hankerson.
I'll make the motion. That we DD to one way going east. A second,
And I'd like to second that.
okay. Any more discussion on that ordinance?
You want legislation prepared to remove?
Yeah, to remove it one way. Okay. Any more discussion? Roll call?
Hankinson,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So that'll be going to council. Thanks, Terry, on that one.
Okay. So let's go to number 2 then, the Park National Bank drive-through. We're going to do that striping with the center line, but do we still want to also pursue a mirror? Or do we want to take away parking places, or what do we want to do there?
We take away the parking places.
You take away the parking spots on
On
Basel
Park.
Street
Mhm.
for the bank.
Oh, well, that's why we have, no right turn on red, so that
Yeah,
Yeah.
it reduces traffic, so you can go in and out of there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think if we're looking at one mirror, what's the second one hurt?
I mean,
other than
you
we gotta
just
figure out a
can't
place to
see pulling out of the drive-through or pulling out of the ATM. You cannot see if there's oncoming traffic that's going north to try to pull out and go left there at the traffic light. I mean, you cannot see. I've almost been hit a couple of times. I don't know how to change that because there's no pole to hang a mirror right there. And you said that it would then reduce the parking for that business.
did not,
Dojo.
Didn't say that. I threw that out as an option.
Oh, okay. I think someone said that though, but I think maybe it would impede parking there at the dojo.
Yeah, because you'd almost have to position that mirror and that pole
Yeah,
to the left to be able to see down there. And
right.
that's where the pull in, head in parking is.
It's just not, there's nothing there convenient to hang it on. And then to place the pole, that really would have to be studied. I don't know.
I hate to take away the parking.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
If they just tell the bank slow, you can make a left or a right very easily.
I mean,
I pulled in and out of that thing a million times
Me
over the
too.
years, and you
Mhm.
just pull out slow.
Put your nose out. What about flashing lights just to warn people coming up the hill?
well, I was just about to say, there's got to be a technology solution, flashing lights, some sort of, and it might be cost prohibitive. But at least we maybe find out a cost on it. You know, a sensor that, hey, there's a car coming up the hill and flashes the lights for oncoming traffic that could sit right at the bank lot, you know, oncoming traffic, so that they know. Like I said, it might be cost prohibitive, but I
can
gotta
look
think
into that.
something else more than just a mirror.
Where's the
I can
speed?
look into that.
I think it's
Well,
25.
It's posted 25, but you know, you don't really start to slow down until you start to go up the hill. So you're at about 45, 50 as you cross the bridge and come up the hill. People are.
Yeah,
Canal,
I
you're
know,
still
I
about 35, 40.
Yeah, so
Even the bank, you're down about 25, 30 maybe.
maybe.
I never knew there was a sign there or not.
Or you have people that gun it because they see
You gotta make the
green,
light.
and they're like,
Yeah.
they gotta make it go, go, go.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
like,
right there.
Yeah, he wanted to- And I'm guilty of that.
I mean,
Backing out of
people,
those headed spaces is just as bad as pulling out of the bank.
yeah,
It
I
is.
don't, there's,
It is.
the headed spaces shouldn't be allowed because they're backing out of them. as
but
quick
they're
as-
How
not
many
just when
accidents have we had?
people gun it to come up that hill.
Yeah, I know.
If I'm on the other
Since I've
way
been
waiting
here,
to
I can
turn
think of
left,
one.
I'll sit there and wait
Have you noticed that
because I'm so
the
afraid
more
someone's gonna come flying
hazardous it
over.
is, the less
People are
accidents
careful.
you have because people are super cautious.
They realize they can't see.
And you know, you can almost go up there, and if you're up there by the bank, you can tell people that are locals and people that have never been here before. Because the locals, you see them, just what you're saying.
We
they'll kinda
edge
like-
up, yeah, very slowly.
And they get that little hesitation and poof, and they're gone, you know? And the other people, some of them pull out and they're like counting their money, doing one just, and they come straight out. That comes back to, and it's nothing that anybody could fix today, but that entire mess there shows why we have traffic engineers now. Because
Yep.
in a modern world, they would have never in a million years allowed them to have built that.
Yeah.
Not with that obstructed view. There's no way.
Or head in parking right there.
Or head in parking,
You're
yeah, that's-
backing out of
What-
them spots completely blind.
What if the parking at the bank instead of head in became angled only? Because we're about to change Canal Street to two-way. So you can only park on that side, on the Basel side of the bank going south. You could probably still fit your 3 angled spots in there.
So that'd be tight.
It might be tight, but then they would back out. You could clearly see where you're backing out to go down. It doesn't necessarily fix the problem of coming out of the ATM or the drive-through though.
Part of that with the tail end of the car though,
Or
out.
what about?
People turning right, I mean.
Yeah, it doesn't fix that problem and it might
Yeah.
create others. All right, scratch
And
that.
you still trying to get them north on Basel.
Yes.
Already angle parked them into where they shouldn't, but they still do.
Yeah.
I love the triangles where people still turn left. It's
Yeah.
just crazy.
All right.
You know, other than a mirror, there's not much way of changing that. I guess we'll find out how much mirrors there
It
are.
sounds like we're trying to address a problem that hasn't really occurred too. It's not good, everybody knows that, but
Well, maybe it's,
it hasn't really been a problem.
Well, I was there, I was a witness to an accident because
Oh, okay.
someone was speeding up the hill. Years ago, there was a boy, it was a very serious accident. Someone came up that hill. The boy, he crossed the intersection at an angle. He couldn't see him, but he was coming up the hill at a pretty good clip. So maybe we need to address the speed coming up the hill with lights or something rather than trying to put a mirror.
That could be. Flashing sign.
Just something
Well,
alerting, making
well,
a,
no, you know what gets everybody's attention? A flashing sign and one that says hidden driveway,
Yeah.
because
yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of what it is.
It is, because you also have that little street where Ken and Connie Maugre now, that was the Weaver's home. That's that secondary street that's a mess to try to get out of there as well.
So yeah, maybe a hidden driveway flashing sign
Yeah, you
fixes
put
it.
it, and you could actually put that down at,
Just,
By the
just
mirror.
past canal.
yeah,
Right there.
And so you've got like all kinds of stuff going on right there.
we can put it, we can put it,
lights.
we can put it on the pole that the mirror is going on across from canal.
Outstanding.
Yeah, problem solved.
there we go.
Okay, Terry's looking at signs now.
It's gonna be a multi-purpose pole.
We don't have to run electric to it.
All right, you got all that, Terry?
Yeah, I got it. I know what I.
Solar
need to
powered.
look for. Okay,
Well, we'll let her, we'll work on a couple of things there.
yes, and I'll report back at the next safety meeting. The dollar store sidewalk is almost done. Tim was waiting on the school. He thought the school was gonna do something and so he's just gonna go finish up the job. The developer for the dollar store did acknowledge his half of the payment for the sidewalk. So that was I thought a really good project that we put together. So that should be finishing up this week. There was just a ledge where we didn't want the wheelchairs to fall off of. So that should be off the agenda my next meeting.
You're gonna go ahead and take that off?
I'm sorry.
You're gonna go ahead and take that off?
Yeah, that one will come off. I think it's done. The West Market Street crosswalk, there is a walk button there. Tim was showing it to me, but it's like the best hidden secret. I didn't even know it was there.
It's
So I'm-
Schaffner?
Yes, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe we get some signage
Right.
I-
I've seen that on
up
poles.
there and see how that works.
I had to look for it too.
Yeah, so that's gonna be, I'm going to really be busy with my sign people, I see. So
Yeah.
I will get, I'll get some signage so that everybody can see that that is the side to be on, push the button, you're there. We'll leave this one on until I get the sign though. And then the last thing to talk about are the flashing lights for the school. I talked to a lot of people at ODOT and nobody said they had responsibility for those. But lo and behold, when I said, okay, you don't have responsibility, well, where are the keys to these boxes and stuff? Well, they had the keys. So I did get 2 keys from ODOT for the crosswalk lights on South Main Street and gave them to Mr. Little and he has repaired them. So I guess that is our baby to make sure it's working. So going forward, if it doesn't work, we are the people to fix it. So
Does that
That'll
mean we're
come
gonna get the ability to change the times that they flash?
good question. I'll ask him. I believe that it should.
Oh. Okay.
I'll find out, but that one can come off too. And then that's all I had for safety. Sorry, Chief, I took up so much time.
Okay, so we can take that one off too, because it belonged to.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's all I have, Mr. Hankinson.
I want to get ahead and do the police chief. You got a section of anything you need to tell us?
Boy, where do we begin? Anyway, just a couple things of importance, I guess. The festival parade, the road run, everything went off without a hitch. Everything worked really well. We have one little small incident involving a Amazon delivery truck that seemed to think they were part of the parade because that's where they were headed, was to the parade. So we had to try to, somebody probably didn't get something they had ordered from China on time, but I'll take responsibility for that. But anyway, that went real well. We're currently looking at what exactly it costs us every year in order to do the parade and all the things we do, because there is a cost associated to that. You know, everybody that comes in, directs traffic, you know, whatever that sort of thing. Pretty much have everybody except for one of the new officers at a point that they can work on their own. We'll have the new schedule out unless something really strange happens at the end of next week. And I hope everybody has seen a lot more patrol coverage out there because we've had a lot more cars out. And with the new coverage, we'll be well into the night, which is going to give us the ability to start doing a lot of things that we didn't have the ability to do before. So that's good. We have some training coming up. I think I mentioned it before. We're going to be over at Pickaway Gun Club for our qualifications. That's coming up the beginning of next month. And our ammunition is still not in that I ordered in March, but I think we'll be okay to get that done. The one car 3, we made a decision that with the number, it's safe to drive, but it's not a car that you would want to have in daily service, if that makes any sense. It's very old, has no air conditioning, the steering is pretty tight in it. And we're looking at total repair on that thing, if we did everything, is going to be well over $2,000. The car is worth $500, so it's not worth the money to put back in that. So we'll, you know, once it gets cold, then the SRO will start driving that back. We just park it at the school, so he'll put it back in service for that. But by the time you have your gear on, you put a ballistic vest on, you cannot stand to be in one of those cars with all that gear on. It's just too hot. Let's see. And I think that's it. We're up to snuff on all of our training as of today. We do have taser training coming up, so if anybody would like to nominate somebody for a taser ride, just kidding, but
I nominate the mayor.
Mayor,
I actually think I've done it once before years ago.
we could sell tickets to be a fundraiser. It would be great.
Yeah, I used to. We could do this fundraiser. Wait a minute, who's going to be controlling the bolts? Who's on the other end? Who's shooting me?
Spouse.
We could sell tickets for that too. That's right, most money gets pulled through. But when we do that training, I really, you know, and you guys know, anytime we're doing training, you're invited to come down, whether it's, you know, the AED, firearms, whatever. You want to come down, let us know, and we'll arrange for you to come down and see what it is exactly that we do. The taser, I think, is important for you guys to understand, because there's an absolute amazing amount of minutia about tasers, what they do and they can't do. Everybody thinks it's this miracle tool. You know, you pull out the taser and the guy's got a butcher knife and he's a foot from you, you pull the trigger and life is good. It doesn't work that way. I've seen tasers deployed that do absolutely nothing to anybody. I've seen tasers deployed that drop them like there's no tomorrow. So you really don't know. It depends a lot on the makeup of the person, what sort of drugs are in their system, you know, different things like that. So you cannot count on that as it's a less than lethal weapon, but it certainly isn't a weapon that you can use against lethal, if that makes sense. So if somebody's got a gun or a knife, you don't pull your taser out. But I think it would be something that I start to say it'd be something you guys would enjoy, but that's not true. I think it would be something that you would find interesting to come down and see how that works. The only way I can describe it, and I've been tasered, I couldn't even tell you how many times, which may be the reason why I am the way I am, but it feels like, if you imagine a Charlie horse in your leg, and then imagine your entire body going into that Charlie horse. That's the closest I can come up with. But it instantly, when it shuts off, there's no residual, it's just gone. So it's an interesting tool, but I'll put out that training list. And like I said, if you want to go to the range with us, if you want to do whatever, you're more than welcome to do that.
Or just grab a live 120 volt wire.
Or
If you've ever accidentally hit a live wire, and you get that tingle. Now just imagine it going through you for 5 seconds.
It's an interesting thing, but I think that's probably all I've got right now.
Is there an update, chief, in regards to the bike patrol?
Yes,
Since
we're
your car's worth
waiting on-
$500, maybe we'll get more out of her.
Yeah, we're waiting on the portable battery to come in that goes to the portable LiDAR. And as soon as we get that, then that way they can run radar off the bikes, and that's really kind of the whole purpose.
Okay.
Do we have an ETA on that?
Ordered.
Just like the ammo?
Yeah.
Because hopefully, I mean, it's still middle of August, but it won't be long before Bike Patrol's not able to because of weather.
Well, believe it or not, with the correct equipment, I know the West Real Hilliard doubles the world. They run them year round. Unless there's
Really?
snow and ice, they run them year round. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
It's a great idea.
and the kids love it. It's a good
Yeah.
reach out in the public kind of thing also. But yeah, we're, once we get that, then that I think will really change a lot of our traffic issues we have in town.
Cool.
All right. We went through old business. Anybody got any new business?
I do.
And I got one thing too, but you
Go
first.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious, chief, and you might be able to answer this question. A resident has had a question about the parking that is on High Street that runs down into Canal. Has the pattern of that parking changed? There's some of the residents in that apartment building who have received warnings on their cars.
That is a very unusual area. When I first came here, it was an angle park sort of deal,
Mhm,
except for Chetron's van, which was always back in.
mhm.
And then as time has gone by, it's morphed itself into almost a free-for-all parking zone.
Mhm.
So what we're trying to do down there, because you're running into a lot of people with these 8-foot bed extended cab pickup trucks with a hitch on the back, and they literally are taking up half of a lane or more beyond the parking. So we're trying to find a way to do that. And what we've told the guys is if you get something and it's clearly a traffic hazard
Mhm.
sort of thing, then just put a warning on it. So maybe they get it, you need to park somewhere else, you need to park a little different. I couldn't find anything on that one section where it calls it one way, the other, whatever. Technically, I believe you could enforce it, since it's not designated, you could enforce it as curbside parking only. But that's going to create some issues up
That's
there.
been,
Businesses,
that's been
yeah.
heading like that since the 80s,
Oh,
at
I
least
know.
the 80s.
I know, yeah. So, but that's kind of where we're at with that. And maybe this is a good place just to bring us up real quick. We've got 2 areas in town that create a problem for us. That's one of them. And I've had the same thing. I've had people come to me and go, what's the story? Can we park here? Can we not park here? Whatever. The other place that I think we need to take a look at, and I realize this is all money oriented, but on Basel, 100 block north, on the west side of the street, we need to kind of look at that and see how that's designated. Now, my thought is that was always angled parking in there,
Are we talking in front of the gym and the laundromat?
other side.
The other side.
And there's no markings, there's no pavement markings there until you get all the way down to the curb. Or down to the
As you get closer to Pepitos, there's
Torpedoes,
markings.
there's markings. So we need to look at that. I think that we probably really need to look at that and see if it is angle, we need to mark it as angle,
Mhm.
number one. Number two, we need to make a decision if it is angle, do we want to make that so that it's clearly marked head in? Because we've got stuff parked in every which direction up there. I've been up there and you've got one car's like this, one car's like that. There's a car parked along the curb. And the problem is there's really nothing there that tells me which is which.
Right.
And that road's so wide, everybody assumes that it's.
I think it would probably just be easiest to just continue the angle markings all the way down.
That's what I'm saying.
And that would,
Down that
yeah,
way.
and that would stop
Yeah.
your curbside
Yeah,
parking.
Yep. Yeah, but I think that's something we need to look at.
Going back,
Always hit in, I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
head in, but
Used to be just head in.
Well, but I'm saying if we do that, we need to
Put signs up.
put a couple signs up that says head in parking only.
Now, going back to the parking by my office, would it help on High Street? Because I've parked on the street right there before, and you could park almost all the way up to the street. Would it help if we yellow line the curb, one car width back or something like that, or a couple feet down?
Probably couldn't hurt.
I mean, it's, if you get the cars parked in there and they start at the loading dock and work forward, you can't really get a car in that last little bit anyway. But if we yellow line it so that it's no parking right there around the corner, then at least then someone coming around the corner isn't confronted with a car right away.
Well, and again, the issue that presents there is really simple. If I'm driving a Mazda Miata and I park it in there at an angle, it makes no difference. But again, back to the giant trucks that everybody seems to think they have to have now. And you park one of those in there and you've got a half a lane of actual vehicular traffic that you can pass if it's nosed in.
I think that's why it seemed like it was better when it was at an angle, and then they received notice they needed to go head in straight. And then they received notice via warning that they were to be curb parking. So it's been inconsistent, just trying to.
Yeah, and it is that we've got several places here in town that it's a hodgepodge, and that's one of them. Back again, for a long time, it was angled except for the delivery van, which always back straight in. And I mean, it's been that way since back in the 70s probably. And but anyway, that is an area that we need to do something about. And whatever the decision is, if you want to make it curb parking, the only issue there, I think you're going to end up with maybe at best 2 parking spots in there.
Right.
So
you think an angle parking on the south side?
Well, it would be on the west side.
Yeah.
I would think the angle parking would make more sense. And again, I don't think anybody cares how they park. They just want somebody to tell us how are we supposed to park.
Right.
Because right now you pull up and there's nothing. Same as Basel,
Yeah. Well, Boswell used to be marked,
And a portion of it still is.
of course. Now, so it's like it was all angle parking until you got in front of the fish place.
And you have to paint the lines, because believe it or not, if we recode our parking lot, oh my God, nobody remembers how to park. I'm not kidding you. We have to restrike that parking lot fast because it is crazy. Nobody remembers how to park. They park head into the curb. It's just insane. We have to coat and park and paint on the same day. So they're just lacking lines, I think.
Yeah, it's just a line thing.
So I think Boswell, we had made that angle parking both sides of the road. Now, on South High Street, do we have to have any kind of ordinance to paint the lines at an angle, or?
What I would recommend to council is that they pull up and look at what that is currently designated as.
Okay.
Now, a while back, what I understood was it was not designated as anything.
Okay.
Which means it reverts to curbside parking.
Right.
So if we're gonna make an angle, you may have to enact an ordinance making it angle. And again, I don't think the people that live there really care. They just
Just
would
don't
like
have
to
to
know what to do.
Yeah.
And we can't enforce anything unless there's signage or lines or whatever. Now, I've told the guys to watch for oversized vehicles, things like that, and just put a little friendly, don't park this way anymore because you're blocking the whole road kind of thing. But other than that,
Interesting.
Do we wanna mark them? Do we want to mark them?
I think they need to be marked. I guess if that's what you're gonna check to see exactly what.
At least when Google took the satellite image, a vehicle was angle parked.
There you go, see?
that's probably one of our cruisers.
And I think they probably went to straight head in because when that beauty shop opened up in the front, traffic has definitely increased. You have more people
Oh,
looking
yeah.
for parking spaces. So by changing it, whoever made the announcement, because you got an extra car or 2 in there.
I don't know that it was an announcement. I think it was people figured out they get one more car in there if everyone parked head in.
Someone was told, actually.
Okay.
But I mean, I've ended up parking right there before. So maybe if we stripe this down to the stop bar,
There's one Boswell, it's striped too.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, they already had
here's what I'm
stripes.
looking is North Basel is striped.
It's already striped.
Have a semi there.
I think that's an older
Yeah, it has to be.
representation.
Well, you have Ken's boats here. It hasn't been that long.
Yeah, this is at least within the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It says
Okay. So if there's no stripes on, did you get
And
that, Terry?
the-
Might have to get some striping.
and the ones on Basel might just need to be freshened up. They might be
Right.
there and just not be able to
Sure.
be
I
seen.
think some of them still there because I angle park there.
Well, and I'll, here, Chief can slap me in the back of the head in a minute. When I picked up my pizza after the football game on Friday night, I parked right here.
Yeah.
And to leave, I backed into that spot so that I could go out that way.
Are we taking this?
So go around.
He played connect the dots.
Now I know where all my complaints come from.
Yep.
So you guys want to, so we want to look, see what we got parking there on South High Street.
Yeah, I would recommend that you make sure whatever the ordinance is
Okay.
currently before we take any action, with it. But I think the angle is the way to go with it.
So you're
And then
gonna
And then we need to make sure that if we need to have striping, that we know what we need. So when that the street crews in to redo the streets, we can include that in the striping.
Okay, so we're gonna check and see what kind of parking there is, an ordinance for parking there on South High Street and just freshen up the line going. Awesome.
Yep.
Anything else from new business?
Yeah, I got one thing real quick. On the agenda tonight is ordinance 2021-21, which is an ordinance approving the codification of our ordinances.
Okay.
And a lot of the changes are automatically done. Some of them it codifies through automatic process. But since some of them, I just chose safety for it to go through because codified ordinances, I usually send other places through safety because a lot of them in other places typically have to deal with criminal violations and traffic stuff, and we've done some traffic.
Okay.
So this way it's been through a committee.
Right,
So I just need a sponsor on that.
so we're just gonna update our codified ordinance.
Correct.
I'll make the motion that we the ordinance 21-21 to update our codified ordinances. So this just puts it online.
No, not online. This just
Oh,
this updates the print book.
I got you. All right, I got it, yeah.
Getting them online is a different
Like
issue.
every year or 2 years. they
Yeah,
do that,
And here's the crazy thing. They've already done the update. I've got the copies sitting on my desk of the updates.
Right.
We just haven't passed the ordinance that says what the updates are.
All right, I made the motion, just a second.
I'll second.
Randy made it. Any more discussion on the codified ordinances? Roll call, take council. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, it's been through committee.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, our next meeting is 27th September, right after service.
Oh, Terry says bye, everyone.
Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, Terry says bye. Her computer froze up and kicked